Now, onto our final item. Has this song turned out to be prophetic? 8 years ago, Beyonce's Single Ladies sounded the alarm over a shortage, not of men, but of marriable men. In 2016, that shortage has become acute, according to Ariane Sherine. She writes in this week's magazine about the lengths to which British women now go to find love. She joins me now, along with Cosmo Landesman. So, Ariane, tell us about your latest adventure.
I went on a very exciting and strange adventure to a night called Romancing the Armpit, where I was invited to sniff strangers' armpits through a little cup. Hairy, unfragranced armpits for the most part, although there were some women's armpits too, and I have to say that they were slightly more fragrant than the men's. And it was all in aid of finding love through the science of pheromones.
Right, and the idea is that if you sniff somebody with whom you're compatible, then something will click inside you, and do you start to fancy an armpit smell?
That is the theory. In practice, it was disgusting and vaguely traumatic, but I think that women go to these lengths now to find partners because there's so few men left who are suitable.
Cosmo, is this a trick that you've missed, perhaps picking up women by the smell of your armpits?
It certainly is a trick I've missed, and I'm glad I've missed it. I'm old-fashioned. I'm old school. I don't go for the armpits. I like the idea of, meeting a woman, charmed by her other attributes other than her armpits. And also, it's a very unromantic notion, this whole idea of love at first whiff. Because imagine if you actually met someone and your child said, "How did you meet mommy?" And you say, "Oh, I sniffed her one night at a dating thing." It's not a great story that you're part of the family.
Is that any worse than saying, "Well, I saw her on Tinder"?
Nobody gets married on Tinder. I don't think you have to worry about that.
But Ariane, I imagine the women will have tried the romantic thing. They've done everything Cosmo would probably recommend, the candlelit dinners, and it won't be working, and they'll think, right, it's now time to take more drastic steps. What I can't work out is, for every unattached woman, there will be an unattached man. So why do we tend to hear about the agony of a single ladies and not that of the men?
Because unfortunately, all the hot men, like you and Cosmo, get snapped up so early, and our best prospect is of you divorcing.
There's another answer to that. Statistically, there's a great glut of more educated women than men. Men of a certain socioeconomic group do not match up to women of the comparable group that they want.
You mean there's a kind of snobbery, Cosmo, amongst the graduate women who are thinking, I want a graduate man?
I want a nice, smart, very successful graduate man. And the proportion of those in terms of the population of a certain age group, women are in the minority.
That may be true, but I think most of us would rather meet Mr. Right than Mr. All Right. We don't want to settle for a man who is, frankly, a bit of a loser. That sounds quite harsh, but I think it's true.
Well, so let's define loser.
Maybe somebody who doesn't have a great job, maybe a fishmonger or a bin man. I think that, my aspirations, I'm a very ambitious person. I don't think that they would match up to those of a refuse collector.
Cosmo, is it the case that men don't have the same expectations? That they want to find they want to find a soulmate, but they don't necessarily want somebody to enter joint competitions for men?
I think the difference is that, yes, men want certain boxes ticked. Women want all the boxes ticked. And if they don't get all their boxes ticked, it's goodbye, Charlie. Men, we get 3 boxes, we'll go for that.
Ariane, the kind of women you met at this armpit sniffing night, what were they like?
Professional and perhaps slightly over-eager to meet somebody because their biological clocks were ticking down and they thought, if it's not now, it's never.
And what are the other techniques that they would use when they're not armpit sniffing? What else are they doing?
Well, there is shush dating, which is silent speed dating, which I believe Cosmo has done. There is Killing Kittens, which is a masked ball. There is Playdate London, which is an arts and crafts-based dating night.
Right, it sounds like there have never been more ways of meeting men.
That's what's happened, is that the dating market is fragmented into niche marketing, where you can find anything you want, whether it's armpits or men with beards, ginger-haired men, also men who like to dress up in clown outfits. It's a vast market out there that anyone can have a pick at.
Love has become consumerized then, Cosmo?
Yes, totally.
And Ariane, it sounds as if you might only be interested in somebody of a certain, dare I say it, income.
I wouldn't say it's to do with income. I would say that it's to do with compatibility. And I'm really sorry, but I just can't see myself being with a bin man.
That isn't the alternative, by the way, but, between Steve Jobs and the bin man. There's a happy middle there somewhere, I think we should remember.
So, Cosmo, if Ariane does improve her techniques, moves away from armpit sniffing, what chance do you think she's got of finding love in this great city of ours?
Very good chance. She's incredibly attractive, very funny, very smart, and writes for The Spectator. I thought she'd be inundated with offers.
So what dating techniques would you recommend?
I say go back to actually meeting someone, conversation, a cocktail in a bar. You can't beat a cocktail in a nice bar talking as an introduction and way of wooing a person.
That's true, but you can't really go into a bar and, approach the nearest guy and say, hey, would you like to go for a candlelit
Why
dinner?
not? Be bold. Only the brave get the fare.
Okay, Cosmo, would you like to go for a candlelit dinner?
I certainly would.
Right, at this stage we'll just tiptoe away quietly, thank Ariane and Cosmo, and while they plan their candlelit dinner, you can subscribe to this podcast on the iTunes Store or by visiting spectator.co.uk/podcast. And a reminder that podcast listeners can also enjoy a special, incredibly cheap subscription rate to The Spectator of 22 issues for just £22 by going to spectator.co.uk/22. Thanks for listening. I'm Fraser Nelson, and this podcast was produced by Tom Goodenough.